The red sun hung low over the battlefield, painting the broken city in shades of fire and dust. Once this place had been a proud alien capital, tall towers, shining domes, and flying ships that crossed the skies. Now everything was silent. Only the wind moved through the ruins, carrying the smell of metal and ashes. Captain Ryan Hale, a lone human soldier, walked carefully through the shattered streets. His boots crushed bits of glass and old shell casings. His helmet scanner showed no movement, but he didn't trust it. Too many times the enemy had hidden behind the ruins, waiting for the right moment to strike. He gripped his blaster tighter and whispered to himself, "Just one more sweep, then I'm done." But something was wrong. The air felt heavy, like someone was watching him. Ryan turned around sharply. Nothing, just dust swirling in the wind. He took another step, then froze. From behind a fallen wall came a soft sound, a faint crunch like someone stepping on debris. His heart began to pound. He crouched low and raised his weapon, eyes fixed on the shadow ahead. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer. Then out of the smoke, a small figure appeared. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. It was an alien girl, young, thin, and trembling. Her skin had a faint silver glow and her eyes were bright like stars. In her hands she held a long rifle, almost too big for her arms. Ryan pointed his weapon at her instantly. His mind raced. Was she one of the enemy soldiers? Was she pretending to be innocent? He had seen aliens use children as decoys before. "Drop the weapon," Ryan shouted, keeping his voice firm. "Do it now!" The girl didn't move. She looked scared, her hands shaking as she aimed at him. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The only sound was the wind between them. Ryan's finger rested on the trigger. His training told him to shoot first, but something in her eyes made him stop. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even ready to fight. She looked lost. The girl slowly opened her mouth and whispered something. Her voice was soft and broken, but the words hit Ryan like thunder. "Ryan Hale," he froze. She had spoken his name, his exact name, in perfect human language. His weapon lowered a few inches as his mind spun. "What did you say?" The girl took a shaky step forward. Her eyes filled with tears, glowing softly in the dim light. "Please, don't shoot." "How do you know my name?" Ryan demanded, confused and tense. She hesitated, her rifle slipping from her hands and falling to the ground with a dull clang. "I was told to find you," she said. You saved my mother." Ryan blinked, unable to speak for a moment. "I saved? What are you talking about?" The girl pulled something from a small pouch tied to her belt. It was an old dirty dog tag, the kind soldiers wore around their necks. The metal was scratched, but Ryan could still read the letters burned into it. Hale. He stepped back, his heart thudding harder now. "Where did you get that?" "My mother gave it to me," she said. "She said a human gave it to her before he died." Ryan's mind went blank. He had never met this girl. He had never been here before. But that dog tag, it was from his unit. The same one he had lost during a mission years ago. How could this be? Before he could ask more, a deep rumble echoed in the distance. The ground shook slightly under their feet. The girl's head snapped up, fear flashing across her face. "They found me," she whispered. "We have to go now." Ryan raised his weapon again, looking toward the horizon. Dark shapes were moving through the smoke. Alien soldiers, tall and armored, scanning the ruins. "Wait," Ryan said. "Who's after you? What's going on?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she ran toward a narrow alley, motioning for him to follow. Ryan hesitated only for a second, then chased after her. The sound of engines roared behind them. Energy blasts cracked through the air, striking walls and scattering dust. They ran through broken corridors and under collapsed arches. Ryan's lungs burned, but his instincts told him this girl knew the way. Finally, they reached a collapsed tunnel under an old transport station. The girl slid through a gap in the rubble and waited for Ryan to follow. Inside, the tunnel was dark and cold. Small lights from Ryan's helmet revealed broken signs written in both alien and human language, evidence of an old alliance now forgotten. The girl turned to him, breathing hard.
"They won't come here," she said softly.
"They fear the shadows." Ryan lowered his weapon, still watching her carefully. "You said your mother knew me. How?" The girl looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, "Because she said one day you would come back for me." Ryan stared at her in silence, the dust settling around them. Somewhere above, the war still raged, but down here in the cold ruins, something far more mysterious had just begun. The silence inside the tunnel was heavy. Only the faint hum of distant explosions reached their ears. Ryan's heart still raced from the chase, but his eyes stayed locked on the alien girl. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the dark, and her strange eyes, deep blue with golden rings, watched him carefully. He had so many questions, but he couldn't find the right words. Finally, he asked quietly, "Who are you?" The girl hesitated, pressing her hands together. "My name is Lyra," she said in a trembling voice. "My mother told me to find you, Ryan Hale. She said you would understand." Ryan frowned, confused. "Understand what?" "That humans are not monsters," Lyra whispered. Her words stunned him. He had heard many aliens call his kind monsters, destroyers, invaders, killers. But never the other way around. He lowered his weapon slowly. "Your mother said that?" Lyra nodded. "She told me a story about a human soldier who saved her life when our village burned. She said he gave her hope when everyone else turned away." Ryan shook his head. "That can't be me. I've never been here before." Lyra reached into her small bag again and pulled out the broken dog tag, the same one with the name Hale engraved. She held it tightly in her tiny hands as if afraid it might vanish. "She said this belonged to her friend," Lyra said, "a soldier who fought to protect her. He was wounded. He told her to run. She kept this so she would never forget his name." Ryan took the tag from her trembling hand. It was cold and heavy, just like the ones he used to wear. His eyes searched the metal again. "Hale," it read clearly. But the serial number wasn't his. It belonged to someone else, someone from his family. His voice grew quiet. "This isn't mine. This was my brother's." Lyra looked up in surprise. "Your brother?" Ryan nodded slowly. Memories flickered in his mind. His brother Elias Hale, a brave man full of jokes and courage. He had gone missing during an alien rescue mission 6 years ago. No body was ever found. The military declared him dead. Ryan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He was lost here, on this planet. Lyra's eyes softened. Then it was true. The human who saved my mother was your brother. The air between them grew still again. Ryan sat down on a broken metal beam, trying to process what she had said. His brother had been here. His brother had saved her mother. And somehow this young alien girl had been sent to find him. "Why did your mother send you?" Ryan asked after a long pause. "Why risk coming into a war zone just to find me?" Lyra's lips trembled. "Because she said the same people who killed him are coming again. And this time they want to finish what they started." Ryan's body tensed. "Who?" She took a deep breath, her voice shaking. "The warlord of Kadron, the one who destroyed our village. He hates humans. He swore to wipe out everyone who ever helped one." Ryan clenched his fists. He remembered that name. The Kadron warlord was known for cruelty beyond reason. His armies hunted refugees and burned their shelters just to send a message. "You're saying he's hunting you? And me?" Ryan asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes, he knows I have this." She pointed to the dog tag. "He fears what it means. A symbol of peace between human and alien. He wants it gone." Ryan felt the weight of the small metal tag again. Once it was just a nameplate. Now it was something much bigger. A bridge between two worlds. Suddenly, Lyra's head snapped up. Her pointed ears twitched. "They're close," she said softly. "We must move again." Ryan stood quickly. "No, you're exhausted. We'll rest for a bit." Lyra looked at him, eyes full of worry. "If they find us, they won't take prisoners." Ryan gave a half smile. "Then they'll regret finding us." She didn't smile back. Instead, she sat beside him quietly, watching his face in the faint light. "You sound like him," she whispered. "Like your brother." Ryan turned to her. "You met him? You really saw him?" Lyra nodded. "He was kind. He told my mother that humans and aliens are not so different. He said if we keep saving each other, the war will end." He believed it. Even when he was dying, the words hit Ryan deep inside. He had spent years fighting aliens, believing the war would never end. Now, hearing that his brother had died trying to prove peace was possible, it made him question everything. Lyra noticed his silence. "You miss him," Ryan nodded. Every day, for a while, they said nothing. The tunnel felt almost peaceful now, like a forgotten sanctuary under a dying world. Then Lyra's voice broke the silence again. "Ryan, there's more," my mother said. "Your brother left something behind for you." Ryan turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Lyra reached into her bag once more and pulled out a small metal cube, glowing faintly blue. He said it holds his last message, but I don't know how to open it. Ryan took it carefully. The cube was smooth and warm, humming faintly with hidden energy. A military-grade recorder, maybe. Something humans used for secret missions. Before he could examine it further, a loud metallic thud echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Lyra's eyes widened. They found us. Ryan stood instantly, gripping his weapon. The soft light flickered as the sounds grew closer. Lyra whispered, "You must survive." That's what he wanted. Ryan looked at her and said firmly, "No, we survive." And as the shadows of armored soldiers filled the far end of the tunnel, Ryan aimed his blaster, and the story of two enemies tied by one man's sacrifice truly began. The tunnel shook as another explosion echoed above them. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Ryan quickly pulled Lyra behind an old steel pillar, his blaster ready. The sound of metal boots grew louder, enemy soldiers searching every tunnel corner. "Stay quiet," he whispered. Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The faint light from the cube in Ryan's hand cast a soft blue glow on her face. She looked young, fragile, yet her bravery showed in the way she refused to run alone. Ryan aimed his weapon toward the tunnel's entrance. He could hear the soldiers' voices now, deep, harsh, and mechanical. Alien language, but he understood enough to know they were hunting her. "Find the girl," one of them barked. "She carries the human's relic," Ryan gritted his teeth. The relic meant the cube and the dog tag, both connected to his brother. When the soldiers got closer, Ryan switched his rifle to silent mode and fired 2 quick shots. Blue sparks flashed, and the first 2 aliens fell. The rest shouted, returning fire. Energy blasts burned holes in the walls, lighting up the darkness. Ryan pulled Lyra through a narrow maintenance shaft. "Move," he said. They crawled through the tunnel for what felt like miles until the noise faded behind them. When they finally reached an exit, cold air rushed in. They were outside again, on the far side of the ruined city under a broken sky full of red clouds and lightning. Ryan took a deep breath. "We're safe. For now." Lyra looked back toward the smoke rising from the distance. "You didn't have to protect me," she said softly. "They were after me, not you." Ryan shook his head. "If I left you, I wouldn't be any different from them." She gave him a small, uncertain smile. "My mother said humans were like that." "Kind but strange," he laughed quietly. "Yeah, sounds about right." They found shelter in the ruins of an old school building. The roof was half gone, but there was still a dry corner. Ryan made a small fire using bits of broken furniture. The orange glow danced across the cracked walls, and the silence felt almost peaceful. As Lyra warmed her hands, Ryan looked at the metal cube again. "Your mother said this has my brother's message, right?" Lyra nodded. "She said he recorded something before he died." Ryan pressed a button on the cube. Nothing happened. He turned it in his hands, searching for a switch, a symbol, anything. Then he noticed faint carvings on one side, a pattern of lines shaped like wings. He pressed them together and the cube clicked open. A blue hologram flickered to life. For a moment, static filled the air. Then slowly, a man's image appeared. Tall, strong, wearing a human officer's uniform. Ryan's breath caught. It was Elias Hale, his brother. The hologram's voice was faint but clear. "If someone finds this, it means I didn't make it." He smiled sadly. "Ryan, if it's you watching this, know that I found something worth dying for." Ryan froze, unable to speak. "I met people here," Elias continued. "Aliens who were not soldiers, not killers. They just wanted to live. I helped them escape the fire. I saw in their eyes the same fear our people once had. I realized we are not so different. Promise me, brother. If you ever find them, protect them. Don't let hate win." The message ended and the hologram vanished. For a long moment, the only sound was the soft crackle of the fire. Lyra watched him quietly. "He was brave," she said. "He saved many lives that night, including my mother's." Ryan's throat tightened. He couldn't hold back the memories anymore. Images flashed in his mind. His brother laughing in the barracks, teaching him how to fly ships, saying, "Don't let anger rule you, little brother," he whispered. "I thought you were gone forever." Lyra reached out and touched his arm gently. "He's not gone. He lives through what he did, through the people he saved." Ryan looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time, not as an alien, not as an enemy, but as someone his brother had believed in. Someone worth saving. Suddenly, a sharp sound broke the moment, a signal from Ryan's communicator. Static filled the air. Then a human voice came through. "Captain Hale, do you copy? This is command. We have detected enemy movement near your position. Evacuate immediately." Ryan pressed the button. "Command, this is Hale. I have a civilian with me." "Extraction requested." The reply came with interference. "Negative. No retrievals authorized in enemy territory. Return alone." Ryan's jaw tightened. "She's not staying here." But the voice repeated, "That's an order." Then silence. Lyra looked at him. "You have to go. They'll come again." Ryan shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." Tears filled her eyes. "If you stay, they'll kill you too." Ryan looked out at the storm clouds above the broken city. "Then I'll make sure they don't get either of us." For the first time, Lyra smiled fully. "You really are like him." He gave a small nod. "No, I'm just trying to finish what he started." Outside, lightning split the red sky. In the distance, dark ships were landing again, the enemy regrouping. Ryan stood up and reloaded his blaster. "We move at dawn. We find your people. Then we end this." Lyra stared at him, the firelight reflecting in her eyes. "Together?" He nodded. "Together." As night fell, the soldier and the alien girl sat beside the fire, two lost souls bound by one man's sacrifice. Neither spoke again, but both knew their paths had changed forever. The morning came slowly, crawling through the cracks of the ruined building. The cold wind howled outside, carrying the smell of smoke and metal. Ryan didn't sleep that night. He sat near the fire, staring at the broken cube that once showed his brother's face. Lyra slept beside him, wrapped in an old blanket he found. Her silver skin shimmered in the weak sunlight, and for a moment she looked peaceful, like a child who had never seen war. But Ryan knew peace never lasted long on this planet. When she opened her eyes, she saw him still awake. "You didn't rest," she said softly. Ryan gave a tired smile. "I couldn't. My brother's message keeps replaying in my head." Lyra sat up, rubbing her arms. "He believed in something good," she said. "That humans and aliens can live together." Ryan looked at the rising sun. "Yeah, but the universe doesn't like peace." A loud, mechanical growl suddenly echoed through the air. Both of them froze. Ryan grabbed his weapon and moved to the window. Out in the distance, across the empty streets, he saw 3 hunter drones scanning the area. Their red lights moved in slow circles, searching for any sign of life. "They're back," Ryan said. Lyra's face paled. "The warlord's hunters. They can smell energy from a human weapon." Ryan cursed under his breath. "Then we move now." They packed quickly. Lyra showed him a hidden path through the ruins, narrow alleys and broken tunnels that led away from the city's center. She moved quietly, like she had walked these paths all her life. Ryan followed, careful not to make noise. As they moved through the ruins, Ryan noticed something strange. The alien city wasn't just destroyed, it was burned on purpose. Black marks lined the walls, and old alien writing warned of death. "What happened here?" he asked. Lyra's voice was quiet. "The warlord burned it after my people refused to join his army." He said mercy was weakness. Ryan frowned. "And your mother?" "She escaped with a few survivors. They hid deep in the northern mountains. That's where I was born." "So that's where we're going," Ryan said firmly. "We'll find them." Lyra stopped walking and looked at him, her eyes shining. "You'd do that? Even after what humans did to us?" Ryan nodded. "Because my brother would have done the same." For a brief second, a small smile touched her lips. But then a high-pitched noise cut through the air, a scanning beam. Ryan pushed her down just as a red light swept across the street. A drone appeared above them, whirring loudly. Its metallic wings spread wide, sensors glowing. "Run!" Ryan shouted. The two sprinted through the rubble as the drone fired plasma bolts. Explosions burst around them, lighting the dusty streets with flashes of blue fire. Lyra tripped, but Ryan grabbed her hand, pulling her up without stopping. They ducked into an underground metro tunnel, sliding down a slope of broken rails. The drone followed, forcing Ryan to turn and fire. His blaster hit the drone's wing, sending it crashing into the wall in a shower of sparks. The explosion shook the tunnel, filling it with smoke and debris. Ryan coughed and looked around. Lyra was safe, but her arm was bleeding from a small burn. "You're hit," he said, worried. It's nothing, she whispered, trying to hide the pain. We have to keep moving. But Ryan shook his head. We stop. You'll bleed more if we don't treat it. He tore a piece of cloth from his uniform and wrapped it around her arm. She watched him silently, her expression softening. You care too much, she said quietly. Ryan gave a faint smile. That's what gets me in trouble. For a while, they rested there in the darkness, breathing hard. The silence was broken only by the crackle of distant flames. Lyra broke the silence. Ryan, when I first saw you, I thought you would kill me. I thought all humans wanted to destroy us. Ryan looked at her. And now? She hesitated, then said, Now I think you're different. He gave a short laugh. I'm just a tired soldier trying to fix my brother's mistakes. No, Lyra said, her voice firm. Your brother didn't make mistakes. He gave us hope. You're doing the same. Her words warmed something inside him, a spark of strength he thought he'd lost long ago. Then his communicator beeped again. A distorted human voice came through. Captain Hale, enemy reinforcements inbound. Evac zone compromised. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Ryan turned it off immediately. Looks like command's pulling out. We're on our own. Lyra met his gaze. Then we survive our own way. They climbed up through a maintenance shaft that opened into a canyon behind the ruins. The landscape stretched endlessly. Red rocks, dead trees, and a storm brewing on the horizon. Lyra pointed ahead. Beyond those ridges lies the forest of crystal spires. My people hide beyond it, Ryan nodded. Then that's where we go. But before they could move, a deep roar shook the ground. A giant alien transport hovered above the canyon, black and glowing with red lights. The warlord's ship. Lyra's eyes widened in horror. He's here. Ryan's hands tightened around his blaster. Good. Saves me the trouble of finding him. The sky darkened as dozens of enemy soldiers began descending from the ship, their armor gleaming like molten iron. Ryan and Lyra ducked behind a rock. Trapped between cliffs and enemies, Lyra whispered. There's no way out. Ryan looked around, thinking fast. Then he saw it, a half-collapsed bridge stretching across the canyon. Dangerous, but it might hold. Follow me, he said. Trust me. And without waiting for an answer, he sprinted toward the bridge as the first shots fired from above. Energy bolts rained down, shaking the cliffs. Lyra ran after him, her silver hair flying in the wind. The hunt had begun, and this time the hunted were ready to fight back. The bridge shook under their feet as Ryan and Lyra ran. Wind howled through the broken canyon, carrying the roar of engines above. The enemy ship's shadow stretched over them, dark and cold. Plasma shots burned through the air, missing by inches. Keep moving, Ryan shouted. Lyra stumbled but pushed forward, clutching the edge of the bridge as debris fell around her. The metal beams creaked dangerously. Below them was a deep ravine, a fall that meant certain death. Halfway across, another blast hit near them, breaking part of the bridge. Ryan grabbed Lyra's hand before she slipped through the gap. Her small fingers clung tightly to his glove. Don't look down, he yelled. I'm trying not to, she shouted back, her voice trembling. With all his strength, Ryan pulled her up. The bridge groaned, but they made it to the other side. He turned and fired 3 quick shots at the drone pursuing them, destroying it in a burst of blue fire. For a few moments, there was silence, just the wind and the sound of their heavy breathing. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. You saved me. Again, Ryan gave a small grin. You keep making it a habit. But before they could rest, the warlord's ship began descending behind them, shaking the ground. Ryan glanced toward the forest ahead. Tall, crystal-like trees shimmered in the sunlight, their surfaces reflecting light like mirrors. It was beautiful and strange, a perfect place to hide. Come on, he said. We'll lose them in there. They ran into the forest. The crystals glowed softly, responding to their movement, lighting a path deeper inside. For the first time, the sound of gunfire faded behind them. When they stopped to rest, Ryan leaned against a giant blue pillar that looked half stone, half glass. What is this place? He asked, looking around in awe. Lyra smiled faintly. This is the Forest of Voices. The crystals store sound. Our ancestors believed they could keep memories. Ryan touched one of the glowing surfaces and a faint echo filled the air, a whisper of laughter, long ago. He blinked. It's like they're alive. They remember, Lyra said softly. That's how our history survived the war. For a long moment, Ryan just listened to the soft hum of the forest. It was calm here, almost sacred. But peace never lasted long in a war zone. He turned to Lyra. You need to tell me everything. About your mother, about my brother, and why the warlord wants this so badly. Lyra sat down on a crystal root, her face shadowed by sorrow. You deserve to know, she said quietly. It's time. Ryan waited silently. Lyra took a deep breath. My mother's name was Celira. She was the healer of our tribe. Years ago, when the humans landed, she treated the wounded, both alien and human. Your brother, Elias, was one of them. Ryan's heart tightened. Lyra continued. He was kind. He refused to let the soldiers burn our village. He said war didn't have to destroy everything. When the warlord's men attacked, Elias stayed behind to hold the line. My mother begged him to run, but he said, someone has to believe we can still be better. Ryan's eyes burned, but he stayed quiet, letting her continue. When he was dying, Lyra whispered, he told my mother something she never forgot. He said humans have light inside them stronger than hate. My mother promised she'd find his family one day. She made me promise to finish that promise if she couldn't. Ryan swallowed hard. She found me. Through you? Lyra nodded. Before she died, she said the warlord feared your brother's message. He didn't want peace between humans and aliens. He wanted endless war. He wanted control. Ryan's jaw tightened. So he killed her too. Lyra looked down. Yes, he destroyed our home because my mother refused to join his army. I was the only one who survived. The words hit Ryan like a punch. For years he'd fought in a war without knowing what it truly cost. Now he saw the faces of the victims, the ones like Lyra. I'm sorry, he said softly. Lyra shook her head. Don't be. You're not like him. You're not like the warlord. Just then a faint rumble echoed through the ground. Ryan tensed and raised his weapon. The crystals flickered, reflecting movement outside. Lyra's eyes widened. They've found us. Ryan looked around quickly. We'll fight here if we have to. But Lyra suddenly grabbed his arm. No. There's another way. She guided him deeper into the glowing forest. The light around them grew brighter, until they reached a clearing filled with enormous crystal pillars. At the center stood an old alien monument, half buried in dust, carved with both alien and human symbols. Ryan knelt beside it. What is this? Lyra whispered, the last memory of peace. My mother said your brother helped build it before he died. Ryan ran his hand across the stone and saw something carved there in English. Hope survives through those who choose it. Elias Hale. He stared at the words for a long time, then looked at Lyra. He really believed this. Yes, she said. And now it's your turn. Before he could answer, a sudden blast of light struck nearby. The trees shattered, scattering shards of glowing crystal. The air filled with screams of metal as enemy soldiers flooded the forest. Ryan stood tall, eyes fierce, gripping his weapon. Stay behind me. Lyra raised her own small rifle, determination burning in her eyes. No. This time I fight with you. They stood together as the first wave of soldiers emerged through the glowing mist. Ryan's voice was calm but strong. Let's show them, he said, what humans and aliens can do together. And as the battle for the truth began in the shining forest, the words of his brother echoed inside him like a heartbeat. Hope survives through those who choose it. The forest of crystal spires burned with light and chaos. Every blast from enemy weapons sent waves of blue energy through the glowing trees. The air crackled, filled with smoke and shouts. Ryan and Lyra stood shoulder to shoulder behind a fallen pillar, their backs against the fire. Ryan reloaded his blaster, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. They're surrounding us, he said, eyes scanning the shifting shadows. Lyra gripped her rifle tightly. Then we fight until the end. Ryan glanced at her. Despite the fear in her eyes, she stood tall, ready. She wasn't just a frightened girl anymore. She looked like a soldier born from the ashes of two worlds. The ground shook as a group of armored soldiers charged through the glowing mist. Their armor reflected the light, making them look like demons carved from glass and steel. Ryan waited until they were close, then shouted, "Now!" Together, he and Lyra opened fire. Blinding light filled the clearing. The first wave fell, their armor cracked by the blasts. But more kept coming, climbing over the bodies of their fallen, driven by the warlord's command. Lyra shouted over the noise, "We can't hold them forever." Ryan nodded grimly. "We don't have to." We just need time." He pointed toward the old monument at the center of the forest, the one with his brother's message carved into the stone. Beneath it, energy hummed from deep underground. "This place is old tech," he said. "My brother must have hidden something here." Before he could move, an explosion threw them both to the ground. Dust and light filled the air as the warlord's massive figure stepped through the smoke. He was terrifying. Taller than any human, his black armor glowing with red veins of power. His face was hidden behind a bone-like mask, and his deep voice echoed through the clearing. "So this is the last hail," the warlord said coldly. "The brother of the human who defied me." Ryan stood, steadying himself. "You killed him." "I ended a fool who believed in peace," the warlord replied. "And now I will erase his bloodline forever." Lyra stepped forward. "You destroyed my mother. You burned my people. You will not take anything else," the warlord laughed. "You, a child? You think you can stop me?" Ryan raised his blaster. "No, we will." The battle exploded again. Ryan fired first, striking the warlord's chest, but the shot only left a burn mark. The warlord swung his blade, a massive weapon crackling with red energy. Ryan barely dodged as it smashed into the ground, cutting through stone like butter. Lyra moved fast, climbing a fallen crystal and firing from above. Her shots hit the warlord's armor, creating sparks. He roared and turned toward her, raising his weapon. "Lyra, move!" Ryan shouted. The warlord fired. The blast struck near her, throwing her into the air. She crashed onto the ground, her body limp. "Lyra!" Ryan screamed, running to her side. Her breathing was weak, her silver skin dim. "Don't stop," she whispered. "Finish what he started." Ryan clenched his fists. The sound of the warlord's heavy steps echoed closer. Every memory of his brother came flooding back. His laughter, his courage, his sacrifice. Ryan picked up his blaster again, but his eyes fell on the monument. The crystal energy beneath it glowed brighter now, pulsing like a heartbeat. A memory flashed in his mind, his brother's voice from the recording. "Hope survives through those who choose it." Ryan looked up, realization dawning. "That's it," he murmured. He sprinted to the monument as the warlord raised his sword for the final strike. Ryan slammed his hand against the carved symbols, human and alien alike. The ground rumbled as ancient energy surged upward. The entire forest began to glow. Crystals sang with harmonic sound, their light spreading in waves. The monument opened, releasing a shockwave of blue-white energy that spread across the clearing. The warlord roared as his armor began to crack. "What have you done?" Ryan shouted over the storm. "You called us monsters. But humanity's greatest weapon isn't war, it's hope." The energy burst outward, tearing through the warlord's army. The light was blinding, but it didn't burn. It healed. The wounded ground, the broken crystals, even the scorched air, all shimmered with new life. The warlord fell to his knees, his armor breaking apart. "Impossible. You're only human." Ryan stepped closer, his face calm. "That's what makes it possible." The final burst of energy struck the warlord, dissolving him into dust. The noise faded, replaced by silence and soft light. Ryan fell to his knees, exhausted. The forest glowed peacefully now, as if the battle had never happened. He turned to where Lyra had fallen and rushed to her side. She was still breathing, but barely. Her skin shimmered faintly. He lifted her gently, his voice breaking. "Stay with me, Lyra, it's over." She opened her eyes weakly. "You did it?" "No," Ryan said softly. "We did it," she smiled faintly. "My mother would be proud." "Your brother too." Tears filled Ryan's eyes. "Rest now. You're safe." As the sun rose above the horizon, its light reflected across the crystal forest, turning it into a sea of gold. The war was over, at least here. Ryan carried Lyra to the monument, laying her gently beside the glowing stone. He whispered, "Elias, I did what you asked. I found them. I protected them." The forest hummed softly as if answering. Ryan looked up, the wind brushing his face. Somewhere in that light he could almost hear his brother's voice. "Good job, little brother. You kept the light alive." Ryan smiled through his tears. He knew the fight wasn't truly over. Not across the stars, but something had changed forever. A human and an alien had stood together, and that was enough to start something new. The morning sun rose over the crystal forest, painting everything in soft gold and blue. The air was still, the silence deep and strange after the chaos of battle. Smoke drifted like ghosts between the glowing spires, and the scent of dust and energy hung heavy in the air. Ryan knelt beside Lyra, holding her hand gently. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the light, but her breathing was weak. The marks of battle covered them both, burns, cuts, bruises. But the warlord and his army were gone. Only peace remained now. "Stay with me," Ryan whispered. "It's over. You're safe." Lyra's eyes fluttered open. They were dimmer than before, yet still beautiful, glowing faintly gold. "Did we win?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, you did it, Lyra. You helped me stop him." A weak smile touched her lips. "No, we did it. Together." He squeezed her hand, trying to smile back. "You sound like my brother." Her breathing slowed, and for a moment Ryan feared she wouldn't answer. But then she whispered, "He was right about you. Humans have light." Tears filled Ryan's eyes. "So do you, Lyra. Maybe more than anyone I've ever met." She tried to speak again, but her strength was fading. "Ryan, if I don't make it—" "Don't," he interrupted, his voice breaking. "You will." She shook her head softly. "If I don't—" "Promise me you'll find my people. Tell them the warlord is gone. Tell them there's hope again." Ryan's throat tightened. He couldn't speak for a moment. Finally, he nodded. "I promise." Lyra smiled weakly and whispered one last word. "Thank you." Then her hand went still in his. Ryan bowed his head, silent tears falling onto her pale skin. Around them, the forest shimmered gently, as if the crystals were mourning too. The light grew softer, wrapping her body in a faint blue glow. Slowly, her form dissolved into particles of light, absorbed by the living forest that had witnessed their fight. Ryan whispered, "Rest now, Lyra. You're part of the stars now." He stayed there for a long time, listening to the quiet hum of the crystals. Then with slow, heavy steps, he walked toward the old monument, the one his brother and Lyra's mother had built. The carved words glowed brighter than before. "Hope survives through those who choose it." He touched the stone gently, feeling its warmth. "Elias," he said softly, "I found her. I found what you died for, and you were right. They're not our enemies." The forest answered with a soft wind, as if the world itself was listening. Ryan took the broken dog tag from his pocket, the one that had started it all, and placed it at the base of the monument. Then he took out another tag, his own, and set it beside it. Two names side by side, two brothers who fought for something greater than war. As he stood there, a soft humming sound caught his attention. The cube Lyra had carried, his brother's last message, glowed again. Ryan picked it up, and the hologram flickered to life one final time. Elias appeared, smiling the same warm smile Ryan remembered. "If you're watching this, then you made it, brother. I always knew you would." Ryan's eyes filled with tears as he listened. "I don't know if peace will ever come," the hologram continued. "But if it does, it will start with someone like you, someone who sees past hate. Protect them, Ryan. Protect the light no matter the cost." The message ended, fading into sparks of blue light that floated into the air, joining the glow of the crystals. Ryan looked around. The forest no longer looked like a battlefield, it looked alive again. The crystals shone with soft, healing colors, and new growth pushed through the cracks in the ground. He whispered, "You'd be proud. Elias, you'd be proud of her too." As he began walking out of the forest, the light followed him, like the world itself was guiding his path. He reached the edge of the canyon where the morning breeze was cold and pure. Far in the distance, smoke rose from the ruins of the city, but beyond that the sky was clear for the first time in years. Ryan looked up, seeing a faint glimmer of stars even in daylight. He thought of Lyra's words, of her mother's promise, and of his brother's message. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning. He pulled a small metal case from his pack, his field recorder, and turned it on. "Mission log," he said quietly. "Captain Ryan Hale, last survivor of Unit 7, objective complete. Enemy leader eliminated." But something more important happened here. An alien girl showed me what humanity really means. Her name was Lyra. She saved me as much as I saved her. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. "If anyone finds this, know that the war doesn't have to define us. If a human and an alien can stand together, maybe we still have a chance to build something better." He looked one last time toward the glowing forest, then turned away and began the long walk toward the mountains. Hours later, from high above the planet, a satellite drone recorded the forest shining brightly, sending its light into space like a beacon. The light spread slowly, visible even from orbit, like a signal of peace to anyone watching. In the command center far away, human operators gasped as they saw it appear on their screens. "What is that?" one of them asked. Another officer zoomed in on the image and whispered, "It's not a weapon. It's a message." And across the stars, the message carried, born from one man's courage, one alien girl's hope, and one promise kept. Ryan Hale disappeared soon after, traveling beyond the known zones, searching for Lyra's people. But stories spread among soldiers and refugees alike. Stories of a human who carried 2 dog tags and spoke of peace in the name of those who had fallen. Some said he found them. Others said he became a legend. But one thing was certain: wherever he went, the light of the crystal forest followed. Because hope, once awakened, never dies.